Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Entitled Parents. Story 1. Aunt wants me to take her daughter to the pool even though I'm not doing well. I, F24, agreed to go on vacation with my aunt this summer. It's been many years since I've been away. My mother pushed me a bit because I haven't been able to see her side of the family that often. She owns a nice apartment that has a pool, but we're planning on seeing the city a bit more since it's my first time here. Her two older sons didn't come along, so it's just me, my aunt and her daughter, 13. Let's call her Laura. Laura suffers from epilepsy and the meds she used to take caused a mental delay, according to my aunt. TBH, her behavior tells me that there's more to that, but I'm minding my business. My aunt has the money to work with the best specialists and afford the best treatment. To say that she's exhausting is sugarcoating it. I won't go into detail, but Laura has many quirks and habits that are a lot to handle. You need to be extremely patient. I haven't seen Laura in a while, so I asked my mother about her condition, but I was assured that she's all grown up now. My aunt has little to no patience. She constantly snaps at my cousins, so this vacation has just been screaming match after screaming match. I keep quiet, but it totally ruins my mood. I feel bad for both of them. It must be hard for my aunt, but it's her responsibility to find a way to deal with Laura because yelling won't do much. She's talked to a psychologist but won't take his advice to heart because she forgets. I called my mother to vent a bit and all she had to say was, "My poor sister. It's your job now to be patient and supportive. Handle your cousin and make sure that everyone is having a good time." Laura is also extremely rude. I might have enough patience to deal with her obsessions and odd repetitions, but if she has the mind of a 9-year-old, like my aunt says, then she needs to be taught how to behave in public. The constant interrupting, yelling, and fighting is too much. My aunt doesn't even correct her when she tells older relatives to stop talking. It's embarrassing. She can be as rude as she wants. Now on to the problem. We visited their home village for a week and took a flight back here today morning. My ear still hurts from the flight and I can't hear on my right side. The same thing happened to me years ago and I stayed half-deaf for a few weeks. I'm also getting sick. My nose is running and my throat hurts. Laura desperately wants to stay at our grandmother's sister-in-law for a few days, her newest obsession, but will be back in time to do a lot of swimming, but she planned on swimming tomorrow. She's leaving Thursday. I told her that I don't feel like sitting by the pool because I'm not too well. She gets bored 15 minutes later and begs me to take her upstairs to my aunt again. She had meltdown and told my aunt that she doesn't want to go by herself. The pool is right outside. My aunt didn't say anything and basically implied that I'm gonna change my mind in the morning and take her anyway. I've been with them for more than a week and 2 more to go. Story 2. My M won't take me to the doctor and thinks she can self-diagnose me. Obligatory on mobile. So I, 15M, have a whole host of things wrong with my head, but the biggest is anxiety. It's almost taken over my life. I've had it for almost as long as I can remember, and my mom knows about it. So a few months ago, it started feeling weird to breathe. It wasn't hard, and I don't feel tired or anything, but I was still concerned. I've also felt random tingling in my arms if they're in the same position for just like 10 seconds, and full, dull chest pain. It's still happening to this day. I've tried to eat less junk food, be more active, etc. etc. I informed my mom, and this is what she had to say. Oh, you're completely fine, it's just your anxiety. Me, yeah, maybe, but I haven't been to an appointment in forever with my neurologist or doctor. When can you take me? Just remind me and I'll schedule it tomorrow morning. That was in February. She hasn't scheduled shit and I've reminded her. She also decided that for the 1 week I was doing well, she wouldn't pick up my prescription and would try and get me off medications because clearly, you don't need them anymore. I'm lost, flustered, and slightly convinced something unhealthy is going on with me. What do I do? Story 3. I want to live away from civilization. So I have a story that isn't so much entitlement as it is just being jackasses. A few years ago I had some neighbors who were okay at first but got procedurally worse. They did some of the usual annoying neighbor things like loud music at night when everyone else is trying to sleep, but the kids in my opinion were the worst. So I spend most my time as your average reclusive gamer hiding away in my room, which was closest to our neighbor's backyard, and it was like these kids had megaphones for mouths, but I digress. It started to get out of hand when the kids got this slip and slide and they were playing on it, being kids and such, but they had put like 80% in my backyard. So my parents go talk to their parents. For context, the neighbors were black and my family is not racist, and eventually an argument ensues. The neighbors start pulling out non-issue statements like saying my family has an issue with them because they're black and how we shouldn't care where their kids play because it's God's land. I don't know much more than that as my parents were hush and most of the argument me and my older sister eavesdropped on from the car. Eventually they moved out and my house now has a fence. Sorry for such a lackluster story. Story 4. Move so my 12-year-old can see. Just kidding, let me put her on my shoulders and block the view of everyone else. Going to keep things a bit vague so the subjects of this post don't find this. Recently, I attended my first ever concert. The show was all ages, but the content of the songs are a bit mature. Absolutely wonderful experience, but this one family got on my nerves. Before the main performer came on stage, me and 2 other friends were moving around the floor space to try and get a bit closer to the stage. We saw an open space where no one was standing, so we slowly made our way over. While doing so, we passed by this family that consisted of a small child, a mom with bright-colored hair, and a dad who was about 6 feet tall. The mom immediately started yelling at us, telling us not to push past her young kid. We apologized and tried to reposition ourselves, but it was a very tight squeeze so we weren't able to move. The mom immediately started screaming at us, saying stuff like, "My daughter is only 12. You need to move out of the way or we'll make you," and other similar threats. My friends and I immediately froze in fear. We couldn't move past anyone else in front of us, and there was no way to get back to our original spot. The mother kept yelling threats at us while her daughter whined. At one point, the husband even reached out to touch my friend. The 3 of us are 16 years old and were away from my dad who had taken us there, so we were even more terrified. Eventually the mother stopped bothering us and the concert was about to start. Right before the performers came on stage, I turned around to see the father, who, might I remind you, is around 6 feet tall, putting his 12-year-old up on his shoulders. This would be okay if they were in the back of the crowd, but we were right in the middle. There were loads of people behind them who audibly groaned. She stayed on his shoulders for the entirety of the show. The girl also started crying at some point during the first song, which is okay, but it just got on my nerves even more due to the entire situation. Not blaming the child whatsoever. Towards the end of the show, I was picking up some confetti off the ground when I encountered the mom and her daughter again. The 2 of them were pushing through the group of people to get to the confetti while the mom yelled, "Excuse me, child coming through." After pushing past everyone, when she was making her way back she was yelling the same thing and laughing. Real hypocritical that she would yell at my group for simply moving past her and then proceed to push past everyone else. Really hope that kid grows up to be alright. Story 5. A greedy and narcissistic Karen demands money that she legally has no claim to. My friend, Charlotte, told me a few stories about her mom. Let's call her Karen, not their real names of course. She gave me permission to share these with you. She sent me screenshots, I just translated them into English. I will share 2 stories with you for now. The first story. In my country, parents receive child support from the government until the child is 25 years old. If your child goes into education, you have to give this money to the child. Children can actually sue their parents for the child support. And according to my dad, keeping that money is considered fraud. So my friend found herself in dire need of money, as college students often do. So she asked her mom if she could give her the child support. Her mom completely freaked out and texted her something along the lines of, "My heating is broken. And if it breaks down completely by tomorrow I will need to fix it immediately. The heater is beyond repair. And who is going to give me the 8,000 to 10,000 I will need to fix all of this? You." A few minutes later the following texts. "Karen, I never let you down in your entire life. I can't say the same for you." 11:24 am. "Karen, I am at the grocery store, 11:24 am. Karen, I am still at the grocery store. It's an absolute nightmare here. So many people trying to make bargains." 11:47 am. After more fights about that money she also now had a wisdom tooth that was about to explode in her mouth. According to Charlotte, her mom basically refuses to go to work and lives off savings from her old job. She also complains that no one will hire a middle-aged woman like me. When Charlotte suggested she could always take a job in retail, she scoffed at the idea and something along the lines of, "I didn't go to college to stock up shelves in a grocery store." BTW, this woman has a degree that is basically worthless in the job market. So she basically needs that money that is, legally speaking, not hers to take. After some hemming and hawing she caved in and gave her daughter the money. While I was writing this, Charlotte shared an even crazier story with me. The second story. Charlotte's mother is a single mom, so Charlotte's father had to pay alimony, which he didn't do very often. This led to him accruing a debt of 20,000. In our country, when a child turns 18, again like the governmental child support, they have the legal right to that money. So when Charlotte turned 18, her father legally owed her 20,000. When her mom finds out about this, she loses her shit, saying that she deserved the money and not Charlotte, because Karen paid for her all her life and now she has a right to the money. Interesting fact in the wording, Karen used paid up front and not taking care. Charlotte suggested creating a third account so that if they successfully managed to sue the dad for the money, they could share it if one of them ever got into financial trouble. Karen lost it again, saying this is her money, and even threatened to go to a notary/lawyer to have the rights signed over to her. She told Charlotte, "I don't trust you. You could keep 100 from that for yourself." So Charlotte gets a few official channels involved. A legal counsel and the government agency responsible for that. Karen wanted to get CCED in all the emails so she could know what is going on. The legal counsel and the government people told her that this is against privacy laws. So she demanded Charlotte's email password so she could be up to date. Charlotte told her to fuck off. After that, Karen mentioned this thing several times during conversations, telling my friend that she is being greedy and arrogant. One day she got tired of all this and told her mother that if she wanted to have a normal conversation she could text her. Karen didn't text her for a year. After that she got mad at Charlotte for not texting her, because that is not very nice. And you don't know what that does to a loving mother. You wanna know the punchline of all this? Charlotte's father is somewhere abroad. Nobody knows where. So he will probably never have to pay back 20,000. I have a few more stories from Charlotte about her mother. Most of them are not as crazy as these two, but you get the picture. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.